This is Olympic and Paralympic runner, Oscar Pistorius, also known as the Blade Runner, in an official video talking about qualifying for the 2012 London Paralympics.
This year has been a bit of up and down. Trying to get the Olympic time has been a bit of a challenge this season. Finally, when the team was selected, knowing that I've made the 400 individual team and the 400 relay was just a dream come true and a massive blessing. It's been 6 years of a lot of hard work and sacrifice from my end, and not only from me but from my team. You know, my coach has put in a lot of time and effort, and the various trainers that I have, my family and friends.
And this is him winning the 400-meter race in the London 2021 Paralympics, one of 2 gold medals he would win during the event. This was his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. In an interview talking about visiting Jamaica and being true to yourself, here she is answering a question on what she thinks of Oscar during their first outing together.
Oscar's a very, very sexy boy, but he doesn't do it in like an arrogant, obnoxious way. He does it in a very classy, understated. He always has a good, simple suit on. Yeah, he's a gentleman.
And this is how their story ends.
New twist in the case of Oscar Pistorius, the Olympian facing a murder charge in South Africa. Tonight we are seeing the last video of his girlfriend alive. Hours after this video was taken, she was shot dead.
Paralympian Oscar Pistorius has been in court for over a month without speaking publicly. Until now. The athlete, once famously known as the Blade Runner, finally taking the stand today in his murder trial.
The athlete's luxury home is a shell now, cleared of all his belongings, including his medals and running trophies. A silent, empty reminder of the event which changed his life forever and violently cut short his model girlfriend's.
How exactly did we get here? How did this play out? And why would this Olympic athlete kill his girlfriend? This is the twisted case of Oscar Pistorius, born to Henke and Sheila Pistorius on November 22, 1986 in Sandton, Johannesburg in the Gauteng province of South Africa. Oscar Leonard Carl Pistorius grew up in a Christian home with 2 siblings. At only 11 months old, both his legs were amputated halfway between the knees and ankles due to him being born with fibular hemophilia, a defect that left him without the outside of both feet and both fibulae. Despite this, Oscar was active in a handful of sports growing up. He played rugby, water polo, tennis, and partook in wrestling and boxing. He was introduced to running after a serious rugby knee injury, and, since then, he's ran in both non-disabled sprint events and in sprint events for below-knee amputees, winning a total of 6 gold medals at the 2004, 2008, and 2012 Paralympic Games. Nicknamed the Blade Runner and the fastest man on no legs, Oscar's height of fame would only be cut short by the 2013 murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. Born in Cape Town to parents Barry and June Steenkamp, Riva had an early childhood surrounded by love and animals. Her father was a horse trainer and the family loved dogs, and soon she became a keen horse rider, regularly attending shows and taking care of the various animals around. Unfortunately, she quit horse riding after breaking her back in her early 20s, an injury which left her needing to relearn how to walk. Riva studied law at the University of Port Elizabeth, which became a part of Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, and graduated with a Bachelor of Laws degree in 2005. Afterwards, she worked as a paralegal and a model. Although she hoped to be a qualified legal advocate by the age of 30, Riva's modeling career took off quickly. She modeled for FHM magazine and was the first face of Avon Cosmetics in South Africa. She also worked as a presenter for Fashion TV in South Africa, and starred in adverts for Toyota Land Cruiser, Clover Industries, Reds, and Aldor Pin Pop. She was a celebrity contestant on the BBC lifestyle show, Baking Made Easy, and on Season 5 of Tropika Island of Treasure. She was also outspoken on the issue of misogyny in South Africa. The pair were first seen together in public on November 4, 2012 after Oscar's Olympic run in London. Oscar needed a last-minute date for a red carpet, and Riva was happy to go with him, despite the fact that she wasn't feeling too well. By February 2013, the pair often spent time together in his home in Pretoria, South Africa.
And said she was spending the night. You didn't think anything of it?
Not at all.
On Valentine's Day of that same month, Oscar fired 4 shots through the door of a locked bathroom. 3 of the bullets hit her in the head and body. Tragically, Riva had planned to give a talk about gender-based violence at a Johannesburg school on that same day. But how did this fatal incident play out? If you asked Oscar Pistorius, it was all an accident. He claimed that after dinner he watched TV while she did yoga. The pair then went to bed sometime after 10 p.m. He woke up a few hours later because of the heat and humidity in the room. Riva was already awake and asked him if he was having trouble sleeping. Walking around without his prosthesis, he then opened the balcony door and brought in a fan to try and cool the room down. He was closing the balcony door when he heard noises coming from the bathroom. Believing it to be an intruder, he picked up his 9mm pistol from under his bed and made his way to the bathroom. He called at the intruder and whispered to Riva to call the police. But, believing the intruder was in the toilet room, he fired 4 shots at the door. Afterwards, he realized Riva was not in bed. He returned to the toilet room and tried to open the door, but it was locked from the inside. This was when he hurried to the balcony, screamed into the night for help before returning to put on his prosthesis. He first attempted to kick the door down, but ultimately gave up on that, went back into the bedroom for a cricket bat and returned to smash the door. It seems that the smashing was unnecessary because Oscar found a key on the floor which he used to open the door. There, he found Riva slumped over on the toilet, bleeding. Hurriedly, he carried her out of the bathroom, before calling the property manager to call an ambulance. However, his version of the events doesn't quite add up. If he did call out for Riva, would she not have responded from the toilet room? The first bullet shot hit her in the right hip, causing her to fall onto a magazine rack, and the second struck the wall beside her, leaving her with shrapnel injuries. With a bullet in her hip and injuries on her face, it is reasonable to think that Riva would have been screaming, even before the third bullet hit her upper arm, before the final bullet pierced through the right side of her head. How come, after he had fired off the shots, he first looked for Riva in the bathroom? Why not the living room or some other room in the house? It's possible that he might have been paranoid or anxious about something, and that caused him to react too quickly. Either way, there was no doubt as to whether or not Oscar Pistorius shot Riva Steenkamp. The intent was what the court needed to know, and it would be the difference between culpable homicide and premeditated murder.
Tonight, Oscar Pistorius tells the court of the dramatic events of the night he shot his girlfriend.
Before I knew it, I'd fired 4 shots at the door.
The trial began on the 3rd March 2014 in the High Court in Pretoria. There was no jury, as the jury system in South Africa was abolished during the apartheid era. The trial was assigned to Judge Thokozile Masipa. As you can see, throughout the trial, Oscar spoke softly while the prosecution grilled into him.
Well, good evening from here in the High Court in Pretoria, where Oscar Pistorius has been talking in person today for the first time about the night that he relived the shooting of his girlfriend.
People would expect the stomach content to be clear 6 hours after somebody's eaten. Now we're talking 8. And I want to know from you, why?
I don't know, my lady.
He stuck to his version of events of what occurred that night.
I woke up, my lady, in the early hours of the 14th of February. It was extremely warm in my room.
However, the prosecution didn't quite buy his story.
Now, why would, in this particular instance, that not be so? Why would there be still food in the stomach?
I'm not sure, my lady.
Because you were awake.
Chief Prosecutor Gary Nell claimed the killing was premeditated and that Oscar shot Riva deliberately after they had an argument.
There can be no other explanation. You see, I'm going to mention it every time today. You're arguing the case, you're arguing what Van der Merwe said, and being argumentative, Mr. Pistorius, is not good for your credibility.
The lead defense advocate, Barry Rowe, held to the defense that the incident was an accident. Oscar had shot who he believed to be an intruder. He believed he was acting in self-defense. He argued the man had no intention or motive to kill Riva. In one moment, Barry even asked the defendant to take off his prosthesis in court to show that he had limited mobility without it, despite other videos surfacing since then, revealing that he moved quickly and efficiently without the prosthetic legs.
Oscar Pistorius was filmed reenacting the shooting of Riva Steenkamp as part of his pre-trial preparations in October last year.
After months of grueling examination and cross-examination, on 21st October 2014, Judge Thokozile Masipa delivered the sentence.
The following is what I consider to be a sentence that is fair and just both to society and to the accused.
Many were unsatisfied with this sentence, and it wasn't long before the state appealed the conviction, arguing that it didn't even matter who was behind the door. Oscar had failed to check, and he had fired with the intent to kill. In December 2015, the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned the conviction for culpable homicide. On 6 July 2016, a new sentence was given. The case of Oscar Pistorius was a long, harrowing one that many argue did nothing to ease the pain of losing Riva Steenkamp in such a brutal way. Did he act in self-defense? Was it a premeditated murder? The case left many questions unanswered, and the only person who knows the true story is Oscar himself. But what do you think about it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.